Welcome back, YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout, Dave Collins, and Dave, we have an interesting piece of memorabilia here, and I will say we put this front and center because it's the only time the Yankees have been in front of the Red Sox most of the season.
Listen, this used to be filled with Kool-Aid about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
When Teixeira announced his retirement and A-Rod retired and all the young guys were coming up. But after last week, I mean, we taped the show last week in the middle of it, and my goodness, the Yankees have fallen out of grace. We also have behind you a nice Red Sox banner.
Beautiful.
So I want to tell you, I was watching the Red Sox game last night with my friend Jamon and Cece, okay? David Ortiz, I'm not sure if you caught the game, was this close to hitting a home run over the right center field fence. I think it was in the fourth inning. And as he was walking back to the dugout, he was talking with a fan. I don't know if he was taunting with them. Next time up, he blasts one over to right center field. And I said, all right, guys, guess what? That's it. I'm out of here. Got to go home. Got to watch the Yankees.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like getting back to the Red Sox and they're playing the American League East, it's either Hanley, Ortiz, or Mookie Betts hits a home run every
JBJ.
game. Or they all do.
Yep.
I mean, going back to that Red Sox-Yankees series where the Red Sox really just, after that Thursday night game, I don't know how you felt as a Yankees fan, besides this despair that night. Did you think they could come back and win anything, or was it kind of like that was just such a momentum killer that they really had no shot?
I was hoping for Sunday night, and of course the Yankees gave up the lead again. And this Red Sox team, you're right, you cannot pick, okay, who are we going to intentionally walk? Who's the player that we have to focus on? Because anybody in that lineup can kill you with a home run. As soon as somebody gets on base, it's like, if you're the opposing pitcher against the Red Sox, you don't know what's going to happen. Bloop fly balls, ground rule doubles, home runs over the monster seats. I mean, this team is on a roll right now, and if you're a Red Sox fan, you're just hoping that they can continue this momentum for the next 2 weeks out in the regular season, because both the Yankees and the Red Sox finish up with all American League East opponents, and those two teams will meet later on next week as well. I don't want to count the Yankees completely out yet.
Yeah, they're
but
only
it's a struggle.
3.5 games out of the wild card, so they might have a shot at it. But when we talk about the offense and who's the MVP of this league, of the American League, I think it comes down to Betts and Ortiz. And I got to give it to Betts because part of it is the way he plays the field. I don't know if you stayed up on Sunday night for that game. He caught 2 catches in right field, diving catches. And I don't want to take anything away from Ortiz because he doesn't play the field, but just that little added benefit. Betts, you got to give him the MVP, I think, in the American League.
I do too. Unless Ortiz can knock out maybe 5 or 6 home runs, he's very close to 40 home runs for the regular season.
That would be impressive.
At 40 years old. I mean, that is huge, and his RBI total as well. If he comes through with a few more clutch hits towards the end of the regular season, I think it's a toss-up between those two players. And where was Betts 2 or 3 years ago?
Right.
You know, he sort of flashed out of nowhere, kind of like Hanley and JBJ.
And a lot of the people thought Betts would get to something, but not to this with the power department. They you know, the speed's there, the defense was there, but the RBIs and the power, that came out of nowhere. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way. But when they get into the playoffs, assuming they do make the playoffs, they're 4 games over Toronto as we tape this, 5 over Baltimore, and that's for the division. They should, I think their magic number to clinch a playoff spot is 6. How does their rotation set up? Obviously, you have Price and Porcello at the top, Porcello, Price, whatever order you want to put them in. Who goes next? Rodriguez had a good performance last night.
Yes.
He's had a couple good ones and a couple clunkers. And then who's fourth? That's the big question. You need to have a 4-man rotation in the playoffs.
Do you hope for a rainout and Porcello comes back after game 1 and there's an extra day in between?
Right.
Because the schedule, the way it sets up with these play-in games and the divisional series all scattered about, you might luck out and get a rainout and maybe have Porcello there to close out the series. I think the Red Sox are going to steamroll through the first round, whoever they play.
I think so too, and especially because right now they're slated to play the Indians in the... Get that out of here. They're supposed to play the Indians right now in the first round if the playoffs started today. And the Indians have had some terrible luck in the injury department. They lost Salazar a couple weeks ago, and he might not come back at all. They lost Carrasco on Saturday, the first batter of the game. He hit him in the hand. He's out for the season. They lost Yan Gomes, their catcher. So the Indians have had some bad luck. Red Sox now look like they've turned the tide. And they're maybe the front runners in the American League. You know, a question I was asked last night, do 3 teams from the American League East make it into the playoffs? I think they do. Yeah. I think Baltimore and Toronto, despite their struggles of late, Toronto looks like they picked it back up, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they were slumping for a while, but they're coming along. Baltimore, once they get rid of the Red Sox, I think they'll be okay. But this Red Sox team, I mean, great. They got 2 more. Buchholz tonight. Who knows what could happen there, but... Interesting series to watch in the National League, too. San Francisco
and the LA Dodgers.
That's a heck of a series that nobody gets to watch.
Just with the issues that are going on with Puig and Baumgartner, and those two teams finish up against each other towards the end of the season too. So it'll be interesting to see how the NL West finishes.
And that's a fun series that nobody gets to watch on the East Coast because the games are too late, or at least I don't. So we'll see what happens in the National League. But we're going to take a quick break. We're going to keep it local. When we come back for the last segment, we have Dartmouth UNH played last Saturday. Dartmouth going on the road to Holy Cross this Saturday, plus soccer. We got a lot to talk about when we come back. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.